I'm Leah, 32, and literally, last weekend, my rep as the charity's heart backfired. The trust I'd worked my butt off to keep solid? It blew up into a full-on family meltdown at my husband's birthday dinner. My parents, always so quick to flaunt their pride in my brother, sent an exorbitant watch for his birthday, and when I questioned it, they demanded I stay quiet. I clapped back, and the room went dead silent. "You're tearing us apart," my mother yelled, with everyone staring like I'd betrayed them. But here's the tea. Their shade didn't break me. It lit a spark. I'm not just pushing back, I'm about to flip the script and change everything. A quick note, this story is copyrighted by the YouTube channel Brim Revenge. Reposting, revoicing, or editing this content without permission constitutes copyright infringement. Thank you for respecting original creative work. Now, back to the story. My fingers tightened around the edge of the tablecloth as I sat in our cozy dining room, the scent of roasted chicken lingering from the meal we'd just shared. My husband, Tom, was unwrapping the sleek black box my parents had sent. The kids, Ellie and Max, giggled, their eyes wide with curiosity. I forced a smile, but my stomach churned. My parents, who'd been dodging bills and pleading poverty for years, had sent a watch that screamed money. Too much money. Tom slid it onto his wrist, the gold glinting under the chandelier. "Wow, this is something," he said, his voice warm but hesitant, glancing at me. I nodded, my throat tight. They'd never sent anything like this before. Not for me, not for Tom, not even when we started the charity together. My parents always said they were proud of our work, but their support stopped at words. Meanwhile, my brother Nate got their endless praise for his stable corporate job. The watch felt like a statement. But about what? I pushed my chair back, the scrape loud in the quiet. "It's beautiful," I said, my voice steady despite the suspicion curling in my gut. Tom's brow furrowed, sensing my unease. I excused myself to the kitchen, splashing cold water on my face. Something was off, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this gift was the first crack in a much larger fracture. I leaned against the kitchen counter, the cold granite grounding me as the memory of last Thanksgiving hit hard. My parents' dining room, warm with candlelight, echoed with laughter as they toasted Nate's promotion at his firm. "Our boy's going places," Dad had said, his glass raised, eyes gleaming. I sat across, my plate barely touched, waiting for a nod to the charity's latest milestone, feeding 500 families that month. Nothing. Mom just patted Nate's hand, her smile wide, while I got a quick, "That's nice, Leah," before she changed the subject. My jaw clenched, but I swallowed the hurt, like always. Years back, it was the same. At my high school graduation, I'd won an award for community service, but Mom fussed over Nate's football trophy, framing it in their living room. When I started the charity with Tom, pouring every spare hour into it, Dad called it a sweet hobby while wiring Nate money for his condo. I'd bite my lip, nod, and keep going, thinking one day they'd see me. But that night in the kitchen, the watch's shine burned in my mind. Why now? Why Tom? My fingers traced the edge of a dish towel, twisting it tight. Nate had been at the charity's last board meeting too, lingering near the supplier files, his smile too slick. I'd ignored it then, but the memory stung now. My family's dismissal wasn't just neglect, it felt like a wall, and I was starting to suspect what was behind it. I sat at my desk in the charity's cramped office, the hum of the old computer filling the silence as I stared at the spreadsheet. It was 2 weeks before Tom's birthday, and I'd stayed late, telling myself I was just double-checking the books. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The numbers didn't add up. Our food supplier, Green Harvest, had invoiced us for double the usual shipments, yet our pantry logs showed no increase. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, heart pounding as I cross-referenced the payments. There it was, an extra $10,000 wired to Green Harvest last month, approved by Nate. My breath caught. Nate, who barely showed up to meetings, had signed off on this? I pushed my chair back, the screech echoing in the empty room. My hands shook as I pulled up older records, digging through months of transactions. Each click revealed more. Overpayments, vague invoices, all linked to Green Harvest, all with Nate's or my parents' initials. I remembered Dad's casual mention of helping out at the charity, his hand resting on a stack of files. Mom's quick smile when I asked about budget gaps. My throat tightened. The pieces were falling into place. I grabbed my phone, tempted to call Tom, but stopped. I needed proof, not suspicions. I spent hours printing records, my fingers smudging ink as I highlighted discrepancies. By midnight, my desk was a mess of papers, but I had it. A trail of fraud. The charity I'd built was being bled dry, and my family was holding the knife. The morning of Tom's birthday, I stood in our bedroom staring at the suitcases we'd packed for the family dinner at my parents' house. My fingers fiddled with the zipper, my mind stuck on the charity's records I'd hidden in my office drawer. The watch, still in its sleek box, sat on the dresser, taunting me. Tom walked in, adjusting his tie, his smile soft but strained. "You okay, Leah?" he asked, his hand brushing my arm. I nodded, forcing a grin, but my stomach twisted. I couldn't tell him yet, not until I was sure. The kids were downstairs, giggling over breakfast, oblivious to the storm brewing in my head. We'd planned to celebrate Tom's birthday quietly, but Mom had insisted on hosting, her voice syrupy over the phone. "It's a special one, Leah, come on." I'd agreed, dreading the usual family tension. Nate's smug anecdotes, Dad's lectures about real success, Mom's pointed sighs at my choices. But the watch changed everything. Its price tag, easily 5 figures, screamed questions my parents' pinched finances couldn't answer. I slipped into my coat, my fingers brushing the car keys as I pictured their dining room, the same one where they'd ignored my work for years. Tonight, I'd watch them closely. Every glance, every word. My jaw tightened as I grabbed the watch box, its weight heavy in my hand. This wasn't just a gift, it was a clue. As we loaded the kids into the car, I steeled myself. Whatever they were hiding, I'd find it tonight. The dining room at my parents' house glowed with candlelight, but the warmth felt forced as we sat around the mahogany table. Mom passed the mashed potatoes, her smile tight, while Dad carved the roast, his eyes flicking to Nate, who lounged in his chair, smirking. Tom, wearing the new watch, thanked them again, his voice polite but cautious. I gripped my fork, the metal cool against my palm, as Mom gushed, "It's nothing, really. Just something special for our favorite son-in-law." Her words stung, too sweet, too pointed. Nate chuckled, raising his glass, but his gaze darted to Dad, a quick, knowing glance I might have missed if I weren't watching. I forced a bite of food, my throat dry. The watch glinted on Tom's wrist, its extravagance screaming against the chipped plates and faded curtains. My parents, always scraping by, had never spent like this. Not on us, not on the charity. I set my fork down, the clink loud in a lull. "It's a generous gift," I said, my voice steady, eyes on Mom. "Where'd you find the money for it?" The room stilled. Dad's knife paused mid-slice, Mom's smile froze, and Nate's fingers twitched on his glass. "Oh, we saved up," Dad said, too fast, his laugh brittle. Mom shot him a look, then turned to me, her eyes narrowing. "Don't be ungrateful, Leah." My pulse raced, but I held their gazes, the weight of my suspicions settling like a stone. They were hiding something, and I was done playing nice. The air in the dining room thickened as I leaned forward, my hands clasped tightly under the table. "Ungrateful?" I said, my voice low but sharp, cutting through Mom's deflection. "I'm just curious how you afforded a watch like that when you've been asking me for loans." Tom's hand froze on his glass, his eyes darting to me, then my parents. Nate shifted in his seat, his smirk gone, fingers drumming on the tablecloth. Dad cleared his throat, his knife clattering against the platter. "Leah, this isn't the time," he said, his tone heavy with warning, but I was done with their evasions. "I think it's the perfect time," I said, standing, my chair scraping the floor. "I've seen the charity's books, overpayments to Green Harvest, signed by you, Dad, and you, Nate." I pointed at my brother, whose face paled. Mom gasped, her hand flying to her chest, but her eyes betrayed no surprise, just anger. "You're spying on us?" she hissed. Nate slammed his fist down. "You're out of line, Leah." But I held my ground, my voice steady. "You're stealing from the charity. Bribes, fake invoices, all of it." The words hung heavy, the truth raw and undeniable. Dad's jaw tightened, his hands trembling as he stood. "You don't understand what it takes to survive," he growled. Nate lunged toward me, but Tom stepped between us, his arm outstretched. My heart pounded, but I felt a strange calm. They'd built this lie, and I'd just torn it down. I sat alone in my office the next morning, the charity's records spread across my desk like a crime scene. My hands shook as I opened an email from Green Harvest's accounting department, a favor called in from a contact who owed me one. The documents confirmed it. Invoices inflated by thousands, kickbacks funneled through shell accounts, all linked to my parents and Nate. My stomach churned as I traced their signatures, each one a betrayal. I'd poured my soul into this charity, every late night, every skipped vacation, believing we were helping people. Now, the truth burned. My own family had turned it into their personal ATM. My phone buzzed, Tom's name flashing. I hesitated, my thumb hovering, then answered. "Leah, you okay?" His voice was steady, grounding me. I exhaled, pinching the bridge of my nose. "It's worse than I thought," I whispered, detailing the evidence. He listened, silent, then said, "We'll fix this, together." But as I hung up, my eyes fell on a photo pinned to my corkboard. Me, Tom, and the kids at last year's charity drive, smiling with volunteers. My parents had stood in the back, clapping for the cameras, while Nate schmoozed with suppliers. My jaw clenched, tears pricking my eyes. I grabbed a pen, circling the final transaction that sealed their guilt. This wasn't just fraud, it was a theft of trust. I had to act, no matter the cost, because staying silent would destroy everything I'd built. And who I was. I stood in my parents' living room the next evening, the same space where we'd celebrated holidays, now heavy with tension. My parents sat on the couch, Mom's hands twisting in her lap, Dad's arms crossed, his face a mask of defiance. Nate paced near the fireplace, his eyes darting to the door, like he could escape this. I'd called them here, my voice firm over the phone despite my racing heart. Now, clutching the folder of evidence, I laid it on the coffee table. "This ends now," I said, my voice steady. "You've been stealing from the charity, bribes, fake invoices, all of it." Mom's face crumpled, her hand reaching for mine, but I stepped back. "Leah, we were desperate," she pleaded, tears welling. "You don't know how hard it's been." Nate snorted, glaring. "You're betraying us for what? Your precious charity?" Dad's voice boomed. "You're no daughter of mine if you take this further." My chest tightened, their words cutting deep, but I held the folder up. "I'm reporting you. This isn't about me, it's about the people we promised to help." Nate lunged forward, his finger jabbing the air. "You'll ruin us." But I turned, walking to the door, my hand steady on the knob. "You ruined yourselves," I said, stepping out into the cool night air, my resolve unshaken. "The authorities would hear from me tomorrow." I sat on our couch, the living room soft with lamplight, Tom's arm around me as our friends, Sarah and Mike, filled the space with warmth. Ellie and Max sprawled on the rug, giggling over a board game, their voices a soothing hum after the chaos of my parents' house. Sarah poured wine, her brow furrowed as she leaned forward. "Leah, you did the right thing," she said, her hand squeezing mine. I nodded, my fingers tracing the rim of my glass, but the weight of my family's betrayal still pressed against my chest. Tom's thumb rubbed small circles on my shoulder, grounding me. Mike set his drink down, his voice low. "They took advantage of you, of everything you built." His words stung, but they were true. I glanced at the kids, their laughter a stark contrast to the cold glares I'd faced yesterday. Sarah leaned closer, her eyes fierce. "You're not alone, Leah. We've got your back." My throat tightened, a tear slipping free, but I smiled. This was my real family, not bound by blood, but by loyalty. Tom pulled me closer, his lips brushing my temple. "We'll rebuild," he whispered. I exhaled, the knot in my chest loosening. Surrounded by these faces, their support unwavering, I felt a flicker of hope. My parents' house had been a battlefield, but here, I was home, ready to face whatever came next. I sat at my office desk, the charity's logo staring back from a stack of letterhead, now tainted by my family's betrayal. My fingers hovered over my laptop, drafting an email to our board, my heart pounding as I typed the truth about the fraud. I'd already called the authorities, my voice steady as I handed over the evidence, but cutting ties with my family was harder. I blocked their numbers, my thumb lingering over Mom's name, her tearful pleas echoing in my mind. The silence that followed felt like a wound, raw but necessary. I leaned back, the chair creaking, and stared at the ceiling, steeling myself for the work ahead. Tom knocked softly, leaning in the doorway, his eyes searching mine. "Board's meeting tomorrow," he said, stepping closer. "You ready?" I nodded, my hands clasping a pen, its edges digging into my palm. "We'll audit everything, replace Green Harvest and go public with the changes," I said, my voice firm despite the ache in my chest. Tom knelt beside me, his hand warm on mine. "You're not just saving the charity, Leah, you're rewriting its future." I exhaled, his words anchoring me. I'd lost my parents and Nate, but I was done letting their choices define me. This charity, my life's work, would stand taller without them. I turned back to the laptop, typing again, my resolve a fortress I'd built brick by brick. I stood at the podium in our charity's community hall, the murmur of volunteers and donors filling the room as I adjusted the microphone. My hands steadied against the wood, the weight of the past weeks. My family's betrayal, the police reports, the board's shock, still heavy but fueling me now. I'd spent days crafting a new mission statement, auditing every cent, and securing an honest supplier. Today, we were relaunching, and I was determined to reclaim our name. "Thank you for being here," I began, my voice clear, eyes scanning the crowd. Tom in the front row nodding, Ellie and Max beaming beside him. I detailed the fraud, my words raw but honest, describing how we'd rooted out corruption and rebuilt trust. A volunteer's hand shot up, her face earnest. "How do we know this won't happen again?" My jaw tightened, but I leaned forward. "Because I'm here, and I won't let it." The room erupted in applause, and my chest swelled. I shared our new plans, expanded meal programs, transparent finances, and saw heads nodding, eyes bright with hope. As I stepped down, Tom hugged me, his whisper warm against my ear. "You did it." My fingers brushed the charity's logo on my badge, no longer tainted, but a symbol of what I'd fought for. My family's shadow was gone. This was my legacy now, built on truth and purpose. I sat on the porch swing, the evening air cool against my skin, the distant hum of crickets blending with the soft creak of the chains. Tom was inside, reading to Ellie and Max, their laughter filtering through the open window. I held a mug of tea, its warmth seeping into my palms, and stared at the stars, my mind tracing the jagged path of the last few months. My parents' trial had ended, prison for them, probation for Nate. The charity was thriving, stronger than ever, but the hole where my family used to be ached, a quiet bruise. I sipped my tea, my fingers tracing the mug's handle, and let the truth settle. I'd chosen justice over loyalty, and it cost me blood ties but not my peace. I thought of the volunteers' faces at the relaunch, their trust in me a balm for every dismissive glance my parents had thrown my way. My worth wasn't in their approval, it was in the meals we delivered, the lives we touched, the truth I'd fought for. I set the mug down, my hands steady, and smiled faintly. I was enough. The swing rocked gently, and for the first time in years I felt whole, rooted in my own strength. So what do you think? Did I do the right thing, or did I go too far? Have you ever had to choose between family and what's right? Drop a comment below, share your story, I'd love to hear it. If this hit home, subscribe for more. Keep standing up for what matters, because your truth is your power.